Welcome to the program. I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching Sit Down. It's another DJ. Daniel J. Watts here with us. What's up, man?
Hey, man. How you doing?
How's everything going?
Great.
You got a lot going on these days. You got the Joe's Pub gig. You got your show, of course, and Tina. What's life like for you right now?
Life is no sleep. Life is no sleep in a good way. You know, I rest, but yeah, I'm just excited to be able to bounce back and forth between my own stuff and then someone else's work that speaks to things that I want to talk about.
How do you deal with that? How do you go from somebody else's work to your own work? Because your own work is like super personal. It's going through your whole life, and then it's somebody else's work. How do you deal with that all mentally?
Man, they kind of cross over from time to time. You know, my personal work right now, The Jam, Only Child, has a lot to do with therapy, and I feel Ike Turner is the one who did not go to therapy.
He could have used some therapy.
He could have used all the therapy. You know, so it's kind of the work that I did I can apply to Tina. You know, it goes both ways right now.
How about just the evolution of therapy? Like, this is something we weren't even talking about.
Absolutely
like
not.
with friends, let alone in a show or in public.
No.
What's it been like for you to kind of unpack that just in a very public space?
It's been really cool because it started with my, actually the guy who's my DJ in the show, he started going to therapy first and told me, he was like, maybe you should go. And I was like, I talk about my stuff, I'm cool. I don't need to go to therapy, you know, and then I kind of hit like a bottom where I couldn't do it myself anymore. So that's when I reached out to a therapist, and then it just kind of opened up these. I equated to therapy inviting a stranger to the attic of your mind, and you haven't been there in a while, so you kind of try to hide, and you don't want them to see everything. You don't turn the lights on, and you get real specific about what you're looking for, and then you realize okay, if you really want to find that thing, you got to turn the lights on, you got to open these boxes up, and you got to dig deep.
It's gonna get messy.
Oh, it's gonna get so messy. Yeah. You have to make a mess to clean it up.
Yeah.
And then get rid of some of this stuff.
But it's empowering to do that work, because I'm sure when you look at your life, like pre-therapy, post-therapy, during therapy, how have you grown as a person so far?
Man, I say caterpillar to butterfly, literally. Going from someone who thought they knew a lot about themselves to, really digging and understanding the patterns of why you do certain things.
Right.
I think it's the more important things. Why did I do that? Oh, because of that.
Yeah, and how do I not do this again?
How do I not do that again? Because I've been here before, and okay, this is a pattern. I'll keep doing this. Let me get off this treadmill, or rather hamster wheel, and get on, a road.
Yeah. So how long did it take to build the whole set out?
Oh man, so Only Child, technically I started working on it in July of 17 to now, but one of the pieces in it I wrote 10 years ago. Actually a poem about me and my father. My father had a drinking problem, and I promised myself that I would never drink. Only nowadays I wish we could discuss things man to man over a nice cold beer, and it's just that parallel of father-son dynamics. But I wrote that, in 2007.
Wow.
Is when I wrote that. So
think about how much life has changed for you since then.
Life has totally changed, yeah.
Where were you at that point in your life?
I was in the Little Mermaid at the same theater, the Lunt-Fontanne.
Wow.
Lunt-Fontanne Theater. It was the first time I was there, and I made myself do a 30-30, which is write a poem a day for 30 days. And that was one of the poems I wrote. But it was my second Broadway show. I was still green, in love with this girl who lived in LA. There's just so many things happening, yeah.
And now you're 8 shows deep on Broadway.
9 shows.
9,
dude.
Excuse me. Let me get that right there.
Show, yeah.
9 shows.
9 shows.
How have you built this whole thing out? What have been some of the moments for you that have really taken this thing to the next level?
Oh man, a lot of it had to do with realizing there was a moment when I got stuck, I felt, which was I was in The Color Purple, then The Little Mermaid, then Memphis.
Right.
I left Memphis to go do In the Heights. Then The Heights closed, and I didn't really have a plan after that. And In the Heights was kind of my dream show, so I didn't really know what to do. I hadn't dreamed any bigger than my current status, and I had to go back to Memphis while I figured things out. And it kind of felt like I was not retrograding, but going, I went from there to a regional gig. Yeah, I was taking a step back, but I wasn't trying to. I wasn't doing it on purpose. I was trying to move forward, and I found that I just kept throwing the ball backwards. And then I realized, I actually have to do my own work. And it was really that the next move was going to do Aladdin in Seattle, and my part got cut from the show, and I found I was by myself, not doing much in the show, and that's when The Jam first came about. I was kind of not rock bottom, but just in a low point, so to speak, career-wise, and I was I have to do it myself.
You had to figure something out, or else you would have been screwed at that point.
I'd been done. I'd have been going home. I'd have gone right home.
How long was the In the Heights run before it shut down?
I was there 8 months. Yeah, 8 months not even 8 months, from July to January. So 7 months, yeah.
So that was the dream gig at that point?
That was the dream gig at that point. I had always wanted, I auditioned for Little Mermaid, I was auditioning for The Color Purple and In the Heights when it was going off Broadway at the same time. I got cut from In the Heights, checked my phone, and I had a phone call from Telsey and company saying, you booked Color Purple. So then it was like the circuitous way of getting back to this show that I wanted to do.
It's crazy. The whole Broadway world like is just insane.
It's nuts.
Because we were talking off camera, like you knew people in your life that kind of did a show for a couple of years and you just thought that was the way it went.
Yeah.
But actually, you really do have to bounce around before you find something that feels good.
Yeah, do like Hill calls it Tarzaning. You know, you kind of have to do this thing. And it made sense on a regional level, like on a regional theater level, you know the show's going to end in like 6 weeks, like you know that going in. Broadway, you don't know how long it's going to run, how long you'll be there. You know, it's all very subjective.
Yeah,
So,
and you don't know if something's going to pop. Like Hamilton, for example, becomes this monster. We were talking off camera. You thought it would just be like big in the theater world.
Absolutely. I was like, oh, this would be cool. Like no one's really into hip hop yet, so like whatever.
So what were those early days like where, first of all, you're auditioning, you get that gig, you're around all that crew, and they're an amazing crew. So what was that all like for you?
Oh, it's cool. So like, you know, having done In the Heights already, and then I did The Wiz at City Center with the same creative team. So like I was kind of in the mix
already. There's a familiarity there.
I did a table reading before like Act 1 still wasn't finished yet. So I was kind of in the mix before. Got to this workshop we did with the public, and that's when we were like, oh, this is nuts. Like Lynn had like gone deep and he had like added all this. There was so much stuff that ended up getting cut by the time we made it to Broadway. But we were like, oh, we're okay. Oh, okay, this is the new thing. He's found it. He's figured it out. He's cracked the code. But we didn't know it was gonna be, you know, Prince showing up, you know, a month before he passed away, and like throwing a party for us. You know?
Seriously?
Yeah, like
what was that like? Give me some sort of.
It was like, so we all, everyone was like checking their phones backstage. You know, the show was still going on. I was like, did you get this email? Hey, did you get this email? And you know, I was like, what? Prince has invited you all to a party of, I can't remember what the club it was. It was somewhere on like 17th Street.
Okay, somewhere downtown.
Somewhere downtown, and we get there and he's not there yet, and all of a sudden he like runs in and like runs upstairs. There's like this like surround kind of area, balcony area, and he's like, turn off the lights. And he's like, no, seriously, turn off the lights. And it like gets really, really dark, and then he just starts DJing his own hits and singing them. So like it's just like a cappella tracks. He's just DJing and singing.
So how long did that go on for?
Hours.
Oh my gosh.
Hours. And we're all like, you know, at first it was like, pull out your phone, and it was like, nah, like just be here in this moment. It was crazy. It was nuts.
And a month before he passed.
4 weeks later, he passed away.
That's insane.
Yeah, it was a moment. Like, you know, it was like stuff like that. You know, childhood. Like, I think my most exciting moments was when Fred Savage came, because I grew up on the one. Fred Savage came, and I was like, yo!
Yep,
he was like, yo!
Yeah,
he's excited about Hamilton. We're excited about Fred Savage. You know, him, Bob Saget. You know, just childhood.
Yeah, guys you grew up watching.
Guys I grew up watching and started coming. You know, of course, all the hip hop heads. Jay-Z coming, you know, Kanye came.
When did Kanye come?
Kanye came a week before he dropped that track with the Taylor Swift reference.
Oh,
you know,
my gosh.
and he was like on the phone talking like, she said it was cool. It was so interesting. Like, it's you know, backstage, and then he went and watched the show again. It was nuts. It was just a nuts time.
Yeah, I mean, just the people that you were crossing paths with. What was going on in pop culture at that point too? I mean, it's really insane. Have you fully digested it all at this point?
No, it's really like, because even at that time, Hamilton came at a time when I had kind of decided I don't want to be in the ensemble of Broadway shows anymore. So it was this two sides of, sorry, not two sides of the same point. It was more like this double-edged sword of like, I'm really enjoying this time, but I feel like I work at Disney World because people are coming and enjoying themselves, but I'm kind of in this, I would love being here, but I don't really want to be doing this kind of right now, but I can't miss this moment. It was all of this happening at the same time. And if I could do it over again, I definitely would do it differently. You know, I would have enjoyed it more at the time.
Right. It's really interesting what you were focusing on, because that's what was important at that point in your life. And you'd done the ensemble thing, and Hamilton's an all-timer. But at the same time, you wanted to advance your career and be the guy.
And it was number 8.
That next
you know,
it was
Broadway show number 8. At that time, I was like, I've done this.
Right.
I did this already.
So was there a thought after 8 that this would just kind of be the way things were going, or you were still pushing like, no, I'm going to find my show, I'm going to find my Tina, and finally get that right part for me?
Yeah, I think I knew that I had come to the conclusion, and this is actually when I went to therapy, right after I left Hamilton. It was like, I knew that I either had to be okay with this wheel I was on, which was, I've been blessed enough to be in a Broadway show, and then at a certain point, like, I want to do something more artistically fulfilling. I'll go do that. My bank account suffers, and then I'll go back. You know, I'll find my way back into a Broadway show, which is, plenty of people have not been able to do that. Like, I'm, you know, super blessed.
You're very fortunate to be in this pool of people. Thankful. But at the same time, you still wanted to pump things up to the next level.
I wanted things to go differently. And I figured, I was like, okay, well, maybe in order to do the work that I want to do, maybe it just means I can't make any money. You know, artistic work is, you know, I left to go do a play off Broadway, The Death of the Last Black Man, in the whole entire world, which is a whole other ball of wax, but there was no money in it, you know, and I was like, okay, I just need to figure out how to make what I want to do also make money. So I need to dig into the jam, and I also need to focus more on TV and film and being a leading man. So that meant saying no a lot when I would normally say yes.
Saying no to Broadway stuff?
Saying no to Broadway stuff, saying no to ensemble tracks, you know, like, no, I'm gonna leave all that money on the table. It's like, hey, we want you to come back for, no, you know, just, and being okay with that and knowing that I would be okay in the long run.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So what were some of the TV parts that kind of opened things up for you?
The Last OG on TBS.
Yeah, it's been a good one so far.
It was a good one.
Yeah.
That it gave me enough security and also featured me enough. You know, I'm there on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
Blind Spot, I played this guy named Freddie who had been molested as a child by a coach that one of the lead characters had also been molested by, but he had forgotten about it, and Freddie remembered, so they had that conflict. Yeah. So just having recur as Vinyl on the show called Vinyl.
Yeah, that's Scorsese, right?
Yeah,
Ray Romano.
Bobby Cannavale. And he was like this funk superstar. That kind of really kicked
That must have been a really cool
That was it. My ego ran rampant for weeks. You know, it was just a cool way to just take, I'm a huge James Brown fan and Sly Stone fan, so it's kind of like I merged those two caricatures together to like create this character.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
What about the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel just came through. Yeah, that was this summer. Yeah, I was actually had to cancel a jam in LA.
Oh wow.
To finish auditioning for it. It was one of those things where I was like, "You gonna give it to me? Or am I gonna?" Because I was in LA. I was like, I have to fly back to New York and finish this audition, and maybe get the part. But it was like, it's worth it. Maisel is one of those shows where I love Maisel. Like I was already watching it, you know. And it was a great opportunity, and I was confident. I was confident in it, and sure enough, I canceled my show. Got back, auditioned. That day they said, great, go to wardrobe. Like, it was it. So I was like, okay, good gamble.
And that's one of those shows that's cut through too. Like you're saying, you'd watched it before. Yeah. Like that must have been one of the few shows you'd watched before and then you're on it. Like that's a whole different level, I feel like.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's just, you know, like I had just finished binging season 2. And when I got the call for the audition, you know, so I was like, oh yeah. I'm in. I can do that, yeah.
So what's your favorite memory from that experience?
Oh man, just Rachel and Alex are really, those two dynamics together. They're pretty not similar to the characters that they play, but just that dynamic that they have. They're very welcoming. You know, they don't make you feel like a jerk when you come on. It's not like, this is our set, who are you? It's very much like
opening.
Very opening. You know, even Amy and Dan, the creators and writers, they know what they want. They know exactly how to run their ship. They're very creative. So it was good. It was a good opportunity to like be on set, but also just do this.
Just start taking it in.
Just start taking it in and start taking notes. Like, okay, this is okay. This is okay.
Yeah. Like, oh, this is how it's going.
Yeah, this is how it's going. Yeah.
And just like the way that they write their shows too, it's very witty. It's very quick with their banter.
It's quick.
And as soon as I started watching, my wife's like, these are the ones that did Gilmore Girls, and I'm like,
yep.
Exactly. Same. Yep. It's so just.
That was one of my harder things. The bigger notes that I got. They're like, Daniel, great, wonderful acting.
Right.
Pick it up.
And you're like, really?
Yeah. Don't pick it up. It's great. It's great. Just pick it up. Yeah.
So what's it like for you now balancing the TV and the theater stuff, and of course the jam? So you got like all these different things. Like you're hitting everything you wanted to. How do you deal with all this? At the same time?
It's overwhelming sometimes. You know, like it's like overwhelming to a place where like, oh, okay, all right, I'm doing what I said I wanted to do. And you know, to be able to, theater takes a little bit more of your time. You know, like 8 shows a week, you're there. You know, there's not really much time to do anything else. So like the jam, I had to do like a midnight show on a Friday and you know, a 9:30 show on a Sunday after the matinee. In order to get the 4 runs in, I had to find days. So there's no day off last week, no day off this week, you know, on Monday. But I want it.
You'd rather have it this way
I'd rather have it this way
than making no money doing something off Broadway.
And being mad.
Yeah.
Someone with an attitude.
So why don't we talk Ike Turner then? So what's it like unpacking that guy? Because you've thought about him a lot. You've talked about him a lot. What's been the craziest part of this whole experience for you?
Oh, man. You know, really just when people see me, sometimes they forget to talk to me. They talk to Ike. You know, they're like, oh, you're such a jerk. Oh, you're such a bad guy. And I'm like, right, you're not talking to me. You're talking
like,
to
it's
Ike.
Daniel. But that's probably the best compliment you can get if you're pulling off the role.
It means I did it right.
Yeah,
but I just have to make sure I remember they're talking to Ike and not me. You know, he's difficult because he's a real person who actually did very monstrous things to a person that for the most part, we know and love. You know, what we know of Anime Bullock, what we know of Tina Turner, we love it. And he hurt that person. Right. So I totally understand why people aren't really interested in giving him a second chance, or for that matter. The other side of it is that I think he needs a second look, only because of what he grew up in and what he was allowed to do versus what he wasn't allowed to do. He was allowed to beat up Anime Bullock. He wasn't allowed to have a great music career. He wasn't allowed to take out his frustrations of losing his father to a white mob. He wasn't, you know, like.
And it's important we talk through all of those things.
All of those things,
like, give that person the whole scope, and then you make your decision
Absolutely.
about it, right?
I have no problem. Everything he did, look at it, talk about it, but also look at what he went through.
Absolutely.
And, you know, and don't justify it, just understand it. And, you know, your ability to forgive him is still up to you.
Sure.
But just take in all the information.
Yeah, and that's the therapy in you understanding the why. That's the biggest thing. Where maybe you wouldn't have done that in the past if you hadn't had
absolutely
therapy.
not. I don't think I would have booked the role or understood Ike enough to want to tell this story. Because otherwise, I don't think I would have wanted to play him, honestly.
Yeah.
If
you would have been like, hell no, I'm out on this guy.
No, I'm good.
He's a monster.
He's a monster, no thank you.
No, he's a very complicated character.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give life to him, and then you make your own decision about it.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, he's a genius in many forms, but just also, and genius is also
right. There's a duality to it. Yeah, exactly.
You know,
genius and a monster.
Yeah, he's tricky. Yeah, but he's also in ways he's fun to put on.
Sure.
Thankfully, I can take him off.
Right.
That was the other hard part, taking him off.
Isn't it how much of an effort it is to take him off?
Not so much anymore, but if I wasn't allowing myself to. I didn't know, you know, this is my first lead role, you know, in a musical, and on Broadway. And so there was a part of me that thought, oh, I have to, you know, when I walk off stage, I have to still sit in my Ike Turner and do all of that. You know,
taking the pictures of people.
And I was just exhausted, you know. After a couple weeks, I was like, I'm tired. I wasn't joking around backstage. Like, I wasn't doing those things, and I had to, like, let myself.
You're kind of burnt out.
Burnt out. They had to let myself do it. I was like, okay, chill. You can look at your phone.
Yeah, you're good, man.
You're good.
Just pump the brakes.
Yeah, because he's just a lot.
Yeah.
He holds on to a lot.
I bet.
Yeah.
So you've done a ton of Broadway shows. When you think about the response for this one so far, just everything involved, how does this one compare to some of the other ones?
Oh man, it's one of those. I mean, it's a rock concert. You know,
I'm sure it's popping in there.
It's popping. It does the thing that you need it to do, while also telling the story of triumph and, you know, overcoming obstacles. And what I really love about it is that it shows, you know, a victim of domestic violence. It shows a complex victim of domestic violence and how they didn't become a warrior when they left. They had actually been a warrior from the beginning.
No doubt.
And I think so anyone who is still in that situation, they can actually they can rest a little easier knowing, okay, I'm still in this situation, but I'm not a jerk for being here. I'm actually exhibiting so much grace by staying in this relationship that I maybe should leave. You know, I might have made a promise that I should have broken, you know, or I'm keeping a promise that maybe I should have broken. But whatever the reason is that they're still in that situation, I think they can have some peace within themselves, you know, and then maybe make the decision what's best for me.
Yeah, it's really easy to judge a relationship when you're looking on the outside in, but then when you give life to that and let it just fully out there, then people can really decide what's going on, and people connect with that because it's their own experience too. They've been in really complicated relationships.
I think that's why
I'm sure you get a lot of that too. People coming up and being like, "This is my life."
Sure, absolutely. You know, even people in the show, you know, they have been through this, and so it kind of. I think a really, really good show actually connects with the people and resonates with the people more so than entertains them.
Yeah.
I think our show does a good job of doing both, which is like, okay, we're going to connect with you, but we're also going to give you
this show,
like this concert. You know, Adrienne Warren as Tina Turner is nuts. It's nuts. She's worked so hard for it. She's been training for it her whole life. She's a basketball player. She's a track runner. She's also a rock singer and has been since she was like 8. You know, so this is like. She's been tailor-made for this.
Yeah, perfect person for the part.
Perfect person for the part. So to like be able to play opposite, I've known her for 10 years. So we vibe.
That's awesome. Yeah. And just the fact that these stories are being told on Broadway too, or it's like this one, The Temptations, like there's a lot of good stuff going on Broadway right now. I like it. Daniel, good having you in, man.
Man, DJ, thank you.
Why don't you tell everybody where they can check you out and all the good stuff?
Come follow me on D Watts Words on IG and what's the other thing? Twitter. Thank you. The Jam, Only Child, is at Joe's Pub one more night on Monday the 20th, but I think it's sold out already. But stay tuned.
Maybe next time.
Maybe next time. And Tina, come see Tina. Come see Tina.
What theater is it?
It's at the Lunt Fontaine on 46th Street.
All right, there you go. For Daniel, I'm DJ. See you next time here on The Sit Down.